Luqas, Luke, chapter 22. And the festival of Matzot drew near, which is called Pesach. And the chief Kohanim and the scribes were seeking how to kill him, for they feared the people. And Satan entered into Yehuda, who was called of Kerioth, who was numbered among the 12. And he went and spoke with the chief Kohanim and captains, how he might deliver him up to them. And they were glad and agreed to give him silver. And he promised and was seeking an occasion to deliver him up to them, away from the crowd. And the day of Matzot came when the Pesach had to be slaughtered. And he sent Kepha and Yochanan, saying, Go and prepare the Pesach for us to eat. And they said to him, Where do you want us to prepare? And he said to them, See, as you enter into the city, a man shall meet you carrying a jar of water. Follow him into the house he enters, and you shall say to the master of the house, The teacher says to you, Where is the guest room where I might eat the Pesach with my Talmidim? And he shall show you a large furnished upper room. Prepare it there. And going they found it as he had said to them, and they prepared the Pesach. And when the hour had come, he sat down, and the 12 emissaries with him. And he said to them, With desire I have desired to eat this Pesach with you before my suffering. For I say to you, I shall certainly not eat of it again until it is filled in the reign of Elohim. And taking the cup, giving thanks, he said, Take this and divide it among yourselves. For I say to you, I shall certainly not drink of the fruit of the vine until the reign of Elohim comes. And taking bread, giving thanks, he broke it and gave it to them, saying, This is my body, which is given for you. Do this in remembrance of me. Likewise the cup also after supper, saying, This cup is the renewed covenant in my blood, which is shed for you. But see, the hand of him delivering me up is with me on the table. For indeed the bane of Adon goes as it has been decreed, but woe to that man by whom he is delivered up. And they began to ask among themselves which of them it could be who was about to do this. And there also took place a dispute among them as to which of them seemed to be greater. And he said to them, The sovereigns of the Gentiles rule over them, and those who control them are called workers of good. But not so with you, but let him who is greatest among you be as the youngest, and the leader as one who serves. For who is greater, the one who sits at the table, or the one who serves? Is it not the one who sits at the table? But I am in your midst as the one who serves. But you are those who have remained with me in my trials. And I covenant for you, as my Father covenanted for me, a reign, to eat and drink at my table in my reign, and to sit on thrones, judging the 12 tribes of Yisrael. And the Adon said, Shimon, Shimon, see, Satan has asked for you to sift as wheat, but I have prayed for you that your belief should not fail, and when you have turned, strengthen your brothers. And he said to him, Adonai, I am prepared to go with you both to prison and to death. And he said, I say to you, Kepha, the cock shall not crow at all today until you have denied 3 times that you know me. And he said to them, When I sent you without purse and bag and sandals, did you lack any? And they said, None at all. And he said to them, But now let him who has a purse take it, likewise also a bag, and let him who has no sword sell his garment and buy one. For I say to you that what has been written has yet to be accomplished in me. And he was reckoned with lawless ones. For that which refers to me has an end too. And they said, Adonai, look, here are 2 swords. But he said to them, That is enough. And coming out, he went to the Mount of Olives, according to usage, and his Talmudim also followed him. And coming to the place, he said to them, "Pray that you do not enter into trial." And he withdrew from them about a stone's throw, and falling on his knees, he was praying, saying, "Father, if it be your counsel, remove this cup from me, yet not my desire, but let yours be done." And there appeared a messenger from Shamayim to him, strengthening him. And being in agony, he was praying more earnestly, and his sweat became like great drops of blood falling down to the ground. And rising up from prayer and coming to his Talmudim, he found them sleeping from grief. And he said to them, "Why do you sleep? Rise and pray, lest you enter into trial." And while he was still speaking, see, a crowd, and he who was called Yahudah, one of the 12, was going before them, and came near to Yahushua to kiss him. And Yahushua said to him, "Yahudah, do you deliver up the bane of Adam with a kiss?" And those around him, seeing what was about to take place, said to him, "Adonai, shall we strike with the sword?" And one of them struck the servant of the Kohen Hagadol and cut off his right ear. But Yahushua answering said, "Allow it this far." And touching his ear, he healed him. And Yahushua said to those who had come against him, the chief Kohanim and captains of the Mikdash and the elders, "Have you come out as against a robber with swords and clubs? While I was with you daily in the Mikdash, you did not lay hands on me, but this is your hour and the authority of darkness." And having seized him, they led him and brought him to the house of the Kohen Hagadol. And Kepha was following at a distance. And when they had lit a fire in the midst of the courtyard and sat down together, Kepha sat among them. And a certain servant girl, seeing him as he sat by the fire, looked intently at him and said, "And this one was with him." But he denied him, saying, "Woman, I do not know him." And after a little while another saw him and said, "You are one of them too." But Kepha said, "Man, I am not." And about an hour later another insisted, saying, "Truly, this one was with him too, for he is a Galilean too." But Kepha said, "Man, I do not know what you are saying." And immediately, while he was still speaking, a cock crowed. And the Adon turned and looked at Kepha, and Kepha remembered the word of the Adon, how he had said to him, "Before a cock crows, you shall deny me 3 times." And Kepha went out and wept bitterly. And the men who were holding Yahushua were mocking him, beating him, and having blindfolded him, they were striking him on the face and were asking him, saying, "Navah, who is it that struck you?" And they said to him much more, blaspheming. And when it became day, the elders of the people, both chief Kohanim and scribes, came together, and they led him into their council, saying, "If you are Hamashiach, say it to us." And he said to them, "If I say to you, you would not believe it at all, and if I asked you, you would not answer me at all. From now on, the bane of Adam shall sit on the right hand of the Almighty Yahuah." And they all said, "You then are the bane of Yahuah?" And he said to them, "You say that I am." And they said, "Why do we need further witness? For we heard it ourselves from his mouth." Luqas, Luke, chapter 23. And the entire assembly of them, having risen up, led him to Pilatus, and began to accuse him, saying, "We found this one corrupting the nation and forbidding to pay taxes to Caesar, saying that he himself is Mashiach, a sovereign." And Pilatus asked him, saying, "You are the sovereign of the Yahudim?" And answering him, he said, "You say it." And Pilatus said to the chief Kohanim and the crowd, "I find no guilt in this man." But they were insisting, saying, "He stirs up the people, teaching through all Yahudah, beginning from Galilee unto this place." And when Pilatus heard of Galilee, he asked if the man was a Galilean. And when he learned that he was under the authority of Herodes, he sent him to Herodes, who was also in Jerusalem in those days. And seeing Yahushua, Herodes rejoiced greatly. For a long time he had wanted to see him, because he had heard much about him, and was anticipating to see some miracle done by him, and was questioning him with many words, but he gave him no answer. And the chief Kohanim and the scribes stood, accusing him intensely. And Herodes with his soldiers made light of him and mocked him, dressing him in a bright robe, and sent him back to Pilatus. And on that day Pilatus and Herodes became friends with each other, for before that they had been at enmity with each other. And Pilatus, having called together the chief Kohanim and the rulers and the people, said to them, "You brought this man to me as one who turns away the people. And look, I have examined him in your presence, and have found no guilt in this man regarding the charges which you make against him. And neither did Herodes, for I sent you back to him. And look, he has done naught deserving death. Having disciplined him, then I shall release." For he had to release one to them at the festival. And they cried out all together, saying, "Away with this one, and release to us Barabbas," who had been thrown into prison for a certain uprising made in the city, and for murder. Wishing to release Yahushua, then Pilatus appealed to them again, but they were calling out, saying, "Impale, impale him!" And he said to them the third time, "Why, what evil has he done? I have found no reason for death in him. Having disciplined him, then I shall release." But with loud voices they insisted, asking for him to be impaled, and the voices of these men and of the chief Kohanim were prevailing. And Pilatus pronounced sentence that what they asked should be done. And he released the one they asked for, who for uprising and murder had been thrown into prison, but he handed Yahushua over to their wants. And as they led him away, they laid hold of a certain man, Shimon, a Cyrenian, who was coming from the field, and they put the stake on him to bear it behind Yahushua. And a great number of the people were following him, and women who also were mourning and lamenting him. But Yahushua, turning to them, said, "Daughters of Jerusalem, do not weep for me, but weep for yourselves and for your children. For look, days are coming in which they shall say, Baruch are the barren and wombs that never bore, and the breasts which never nursed. Then they shall begin to say to the mountains, Fall on us, and to the hills, cover us. Because if they do this to the green tree, what is going to be done to the dry?" And 2 others also, evildoers, were led with him to be put to death. And when they had come to the place called Golgotha, they impaled him there, and the evildoers, one on the right and the other on the left. And Yahushua said, "Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they do." And they divided his garments and cast lots. And the people were standing looking on, and the rulers also were sneering with him, saying, "He saved others, let him save himself, if he is Hamashiach, the chosen of Elohim." And the soldiers were mocking him too, coming and offering him vinegar, and saying, "If you are the sovereign of the Yahudim, save yourself." And there was also an inscription written over him in letters of Yawanites and Roman and Ivri, "This is the sovereign of the Yahudim." And one of the evildoers who were hanged was speaking evil of him, saying, "If you are Hamashiach, save yourself and us." But the other, responding, rebuked him, saying, "Do you not even fear Elohim, since you are under the same judgments? And we, indeed, rightly so, for we receive the due reward of our deeds, but this one has done no wrong." And he said to Yahushua, "Adonai, remember me when you come into your reign." And Yahushua said to him, "Truly I say to you today, you shall be with me in paradise." And it was now about the 6th hour, and darkness came over all the land until the 9th hour, and the sun was darkened, and the veil of the Mishkan was torn in two. And crying out with a loud voice, Yahushua said, "Father, into your hands I commit my spirit." And having said this, he breathed his last. And the captain, seeing what took place, praised Elohim, saying, "Truly, this man was righteous." And when all the crowds who had gathered to that sight saw what took place, they beat their breasts and went away. And all those who knew him and the women who followed him from Galilee stood at a distance watching this. And see, a man named Joseph, a council member, a good and righteous man, he was not agreeing with their counsel indeed, from Ramathaim, a city of the Yahudim, who himself was also waiting for the reign of Elohim. He, going to Pilatus, asked for the body of Yahusha, and taking it down, he wrapped it in linen and laid it in a tomb hewn out of the rock, where no one was yet laid. And it was preparation day, and the Shabbat was approaching. And the women who had come with him from Galilee followed after, and saw the tomb and how his body was laid. And having returned, they prepared spices and perfumes, and they rested on the Shabbat according to the command. Luqas, Luke, chapter 24. And on one of the Shabbatoth at early dawn, they came to the tomb, bringing the spices which they had prepared. And they found the stone rolled away from the tomb. And having entered, they did not find the body of the Adon Yahushua. And it came to be, as they were perplexed about this, that see, 2 men stood by them in glittering garments. And becoming frightened and bowing their faces to the earth, these said to them, "Why do you seek the living among the dead? He is not here, but has been raised up. Remember how he spoke to you when he was still in Galilee, saying, 'The bane of Adam has to be delivered into the hands of sinners and be impaled, and the 3rd day rise again.' And they remembered his words. And having returned from the tomb, they reported all this to the 11 and to all the rest. And it was Miriam from Magdala, and Yochanan, and Miriam of Yaakov, and the rest with them, who told this to the emissaries. And their words appeared to them to be nonsense, and they did not believe them. But Kepha arose and ran to the tomb, and stooping down, he saw the linen wrappings lying by themselves, and he went away home, marveling at what took place. And see, 2 of them were going that same day to a village called Emmaus, which was 60 stadios from Jerusalem, and they were talking to each other of all that which had taken place. And it came to be, as they were talking and reasoning, that Yahushua himself drew near and went with them. But their eyes were restrained, so that they did not know him. And he said to them, "What are these words you are exchanging with each other as you are walking? And you are sad." And the one whose name was Cleophas, answering, said to him, "Are you the lone visitor in Jerusalem, who does not know what took place in it these days?" And he said to them, "What?" And they said to him, "Concerning Yahusha of Nazareth, who was a Navi, mighty in deed and word before Elohim and all the people, and how the chief Kohanim and our rulers delivered him to be condemned to death and impaled him. We, however, were expecting that it was he who was going to redeem Yisrael. But besides all this, today is the 3rd day since these took place. But certain women of ours who arrived at the tomb early also astonished us. When they did not find his body, they came saying that they had also seen a vision of messengers who said he was alive. And some of those with us went to the tomb and found it, as also the women had said, but they did not see him." And he said to them, "O thoughtless ones and slow of heart to believe in all that the Naviim have spoken. Was it not necessary for Hamashiach to suffer these and to enter into his esteem?" And beginning at Moshe and all the Nevi'im, he was explaining to them in all the scriptures that concerning himself. And they approached the village where they were going, and he seemed to be going on. But they urged him strongly, saying, "Stay with us, for it is toward evening, and the day has declined." And he went in to stay with them. And it came to be, when he sat at the table with them, having taken the bread, he barach, and having broken, he was giving it to them. And their eyes were opened, and they recognized him, and he disappeared from their sight. And they said to each other, "Was not our heart burning within us as he was speaking to us on the way, and as he was opening the scriptures to us?" And rising up that same hour, they returned to Jerusalem and found the 11 and those who were with them gathered together, saying, "The Adon was truly raised and has appeared to Shimon." And they related this on the way and how he was recognized by them in the breaking of the bread. And as they were saying this, Yahusha himself stood in the midst of them and said to them, "Peace to you." And being startled and frightened, they thought they had seen a spirit. And he said to them, "Why are you troubled? And why do doubts arise in your hearts? See my hands and my feet, that it is I myself. Handle me and see, for a spirit does not have flesh and bones, as you see I have." And saying this, he showed them his hands and his feet. And while they were still not believing for joy and marveling, he said to them, "Have you any food here?" And they gave him a piece of a broiled fish and some honeycomb. And taking it, he ate in their presence. And he said to them, "These are the words which I spoke to you while I was still with you, that all have to be filled that were written in the Torah of Moshe and the Nevi'im and the Tehillim concerning me." Then he opened their minds to understand the scriptures and said to them, "Thus it has been written, and so it was necessary for Hamashiach to suffer and to rise again from the dead the third day, and that repentance and forgiveness of sins should be proclaimed in his name to all nations, beginning at Jerusalem. And you are witnesses of these. And see, I am sending the promise of my Father upon you, but you are to remain in the city of Jerusalem until you are clothed with power from on high." And he led them out as far as Beth-Ania, and lifting up his hands, he barached them. And it came to be, while he barached them, that he was parted from them and was taken up into the Shamayim. And they, having bowed down to him, returned to Jerusalem with great joy, and were continually in the Mikdash praising and barakah Elohim. Amen.